So yeah, it's her work, and just being redone and on a comic book form. But that was really cool. So
Yeah, I guess you can get
um
away with that if
yeah.
you're actually a novelist. You like write your own books and you're a comic
Well,
writer.
that would be
I don't-
like J. Michael Straczynski or Chuck Dixon, writing a novel and then
yeah, there's a few writers in comics today that are novelists. In fact, so J. Michael Straczynski's all over the place. He writes magazines. He
yeah,
writes.
yeah.
He wrote for newspapers in the past. He's written for TV, movies. Like he's
Mhm.
all over. Um, but yeah, he's definitely written novels. But what's his name? Peter David. Peter David
Yep.
started off as a sci-fi author. That's how I discovered him. Like way back in the '80s. I remember my stepdad was huge on him because he came, was when I think what was he writing, the Hulk back then? Well, anyways, and I was like, "Oh, I don't know Hulk or whatever." And he's like, "Oh, this is one of my I like this author. I read all his," because he was an avid reader. Like he was one of those people that could read like a novel in a day. I want to
Brian
say
Metzger.
Brian Metzger. Yeah, he's a novelist.
I think his name
Um,
is not sounds right, but I'm not sure.
something Metzger. Um,
It might be Brian Metzger because there was a Brian Azzarello too. So maybe
yeah,
Metzger might be it. But
and myself. Well, obviously, if you're writing for like DC or Marvel characters, it's not the same. But if you're doing independent books, and if I was a comic writer and a novelist, I think I would adapt all my novels into comics. You know, why not?
mhm.
Because there's going to be people that you're going to
Yeah,
reach
prefer.
that
Yeah,
don't cross over, right? There's going to be people that are like, yeah, I like J. Michael Straczynski, but I don't really read novels, but I like comics, so I'll read those. And so,
that's me. That's me. And then there's people who think comic books are for kids, but they'll read a novel.
right. And then there's some who are just fanboys
Get
and
both.
will like read a novel and then they'll make a comic adaptation of it and they'll be like, oh, yeah.
Speaking of which, are you gonna get the Babylon 5 um, movie or watch that?
Um, yeah, I'm gonna check it out at some point.
Yeah,
I'm a Babylon 5 fan. I'm not excited about it. I'm not excited about it being a cartoon, but I'm gonna give
I'm
it
excited
I'm
because
gonna give it a shot.
I'm excited. It's a multiverse.
Oh, jeez. Speaking of multiverse, everyone,
It's
welcome. We did a cold. What is it? A cold? I forget what they call it. Cold open. Whatever it's
yeah,
called. Joe Rogan mastered it. I love it. Just get things started because so many times our backstage conversations like are more lively, and then it's like, okay, ready? We're gonna go live now, and then we go live, and everyone shuts up, and we're like, what do we talk about? So, you came in the middle of the conversation. We're talking about this nonsense. As a matter of fact, I need to get the timer out. Let's go ahead and um, oh, this is
I
boring as
believe.
as I manipulate the we're gonna do 25
Yes.
minutes, let people roll in, and because that's just the way things are. People get bored. They don't notice that the stream is even rolling until it's been on for 30 minutes. Um, but yeah, I just totally derailed the conversation with that open, by the way. Um,
You're a train wreck, sir. A one-person train wreck.
one person train wreck. Speaking of train wrecks, you're gonna notice we're missing one tonight. Not a train wreck. We're missing a person. Um,
Oh, everybody's used to that Zach not showing up for things.
who's
If
not here?
you're
Oh,
a fan of the
Zach.
Geeky
Zach is
Puppet
the one that's
Show,
missing. So our boy Zach, we miss you, Zach. You're probably listening in. No, you're not. I don't know if you are or not. Hopefully you are, wherever you are. I don't know what you're doing. He said he was busy. He had a lot of things, work going on, and I was like, this late at night?
he works in elder law. I think that's what he does. And
He's
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 been so he's been doing a lot with that stuff.
he's probably
He's
on
our
a
he's our resident Saul Goodman
he's probably on a date.
with the older lady. Oh, I guess
I
so.
don't know. I can't
Yeah, I'll do
think of what
your
he'd be
will if you
doing.
want to hang out.
What are you doing? What are you doing this late at night? Oh, with a girl. So, Zach, wherever
Well,
you are, we wish you well. We miss you on the show.
They
Um,
made that joke because he's leaving next week to go over 9 days going to the beach.
yeah,
Last time it happened, that he got divorced. This time he's coming back married. Fingers crossed.
I didn't ask
You
what
know,
the occasion was of why he was going to the beach. Maybe it's a honeymoon.
he got get married again that fast. It's
Maybe,
true. Guys do bounce back faster.
yeah, some do. I think guys either bounce back or they just stay crippled. They just, they're like knocked out on the mat, and you got to bring in a
Wait, wait, wait,
stretcher.
wait. Being single does not mean you're crippled. This means that you realize that it's you're better off.
Well, that's the bounce back person. There are a lot of men. I mean, that's why one of the reasons why. Well, I won't get into the hard topics, but men cannot deal sometimes with extreme emotional pain like that. So, anyways, hopefully, no one listening is one of those people.
For all your needs with dealing with extreme emotional pain, check out Action Comics. We are here to cheer you up.
We're here to cheer you up.
We're the
Um,
He-Man Woman Hating Club. We
um,
got your back.
so, hey, there's Zach in the comments. Look at that, our boy. Uh, doing whatever he's busy doing. At least he can get on his phone and again chat. He says a long played vacation, so he won't be here next week for Void Rivals, which is the book we're all excited for. He better not miss Firepower, or we're gonna have to dock him some pay. Um,
Of course.
oh look, he was on a date. See, I called it. I called it.
Bro, man, like you're already doing her well. You might as well date her too if you can't get a chance, bro.
That's awful. So I
I
can't
just
tell
I
if
just
it's
picture
coming.
I just
Go
picture
ahead.
it. I know. I'm just saying. I always picture him as Jimmy McGill, swimming people, Sandpiper Community Center. The joke is, but yeah.
I was only gonna say that I don't know if it comes through on the mic or not. My roomie's doing renovations upstairs, and I can't tell what the audience hears. I don't think it's coming through the mic. They're the ones with all the money, Zach. How are you gonna get a?
Well, Zach, if you're not dating older, you must be dating younger then. Do you want
That's really weird. Then it goes back to excellent condition. I live in California, and everything's just going to shit here. we we used to be like one of the most prosperous, if not the most prosperous state in the union, super high tech, everything, and now just everything's crap because
It's because what's what happened in Georgia tonight with Trump and the indictments. So then everyone in California is online. They're like, "Oh crap, we're trying to get out of California."
oh my goodness,
You realize you're
seriously.
screwed more.
Seriously, like I just can't believe where we are. I don't want to turn this into a political stream, but uh, so you've been let's talk about. Have you seen any? I haven't seen any good movies recently. Last movie I saw was Mission Impossible 7. I was really impressed with it. Really impressed with it. Anything been on something you've been
Last
watching lately that?
Sunday night, Rob and I did a review of the last voyage of the Demeter,
Oh,
which
how
is
was that?
good, really good. Um, for those who are wondering, yes, it does take place on the ship the the whole entire time, except for the very very beginning and the very end is off the boat. But
Now I've heard
it's
some people criticize it as like a complete rip off of Alien, but with instead of being an alien on a spaceship, it's Dracula on a old
it's
sailing ship.
Dracula Poe. He's going from Romania to London. He's basically, it's revealed from the plot dump, that he's where he was staying. He pretty much ate everybody, so
Right.
he needs more food. So he's going to London,
Hmm.
and along the way, he needs a couple snacks, and it is kind of like Alien in that sense because well, first of all, they don't really know about Dracula until you get to meet the one girl, and she says, "Oh, it's Dracula." You're like, "What?" because at that point it'd been well kept secret. So anyway, it's supposed to and it's supposed to be based exactly just off the actual book, Bram Stoker's Dracula. You know,
Oh, really? They just took the
yeah,
part where he sails across and made it into a movie?
the Demeter, yeah, they took it from the book, and they actually built the 100-foot actual replica of a boat from that time. The film, so they could actually it's not CG. The boat isn't CG. The storms and stuff, it's in the water, yeah, but filming inside the boat, they actually built an actual. I thought they had historians come in and they had built a real boat just to film in it. That was really cool. And it's of course it's Rick going from every night. It comes out picking off one person, the next person, next person. You're like, oh, we all know they're gonna die at the end. What's the point of this? It's the way he does it. In a way, the way that you basically it's a story about the people, not Dracula. It's not even really a Dracula story. It's about the people who are on the meter. It's really fun. It's a thriller, if anything. Um, the music. You got the guy Liam Cunningham, who basically does the narration throughout the actual movie. It's like he's reading from his journal. It's like while they're showing what's going what happened to the boat. It's like July 6th. The men are this. And it's like and he's got that deep gravelly voice, kind of like a Sam Elliott or I mean not Sam Elliott, but a Sam Neill. Dr. Grant. And just telling, and it's just you just feel the black guy on that screen, or it's Dr. Clemens. He's one of the main stars on here, and him joining the crew, and then as I said, as it goes on, is if you how to say if you're a dog fan, don't watch this movie. Dog does not make it. Just want to
Oh,
let you know, so you guys, yeah, I don't want anybody going in there and be like,
spoiler alerts.
sorry, sorry, I wanted to save you guys, trouble, but but it is a very very fun book. It's basically it's a murder and on a really cool ship, in the 1800s. They have oil lanterns and stuff.
I don't necessarily
Everything's
mind if it is a
I love that
basically a
period
rip
though.
off of Alien, because you can sometimes you can do that, right? You got like
Yeah.
Magnificent Seven is a complete retelling of Seven Samurai, but with cowboys instead of samurai. So
The only thing that didn't make sense about the whole thing is that he wants to go to London. London this time is full of disease. He's gonna feed off of people who have
The
disease.
scariest depiction
He's
of
gonna be
the
puking a
world.
lot.
There's something about that mythology.
No.
well,
But
yeah, I
the
don't know.
good,
Maybe
but
he's
the good
maybe he's
thing,
immune to
not
disease. He's a Dracula.
that's the thing. That's another thing going to this movie. What you think you know about vampires isn't what you know about vampires.
Oh wait, no, duh.
They
If this
see
is
it.
if this is if this is Dracula, it's based on Bram Stoker's Dracula. We know
Yeah,
why he goes to London. He's chasing
yeah.
Tip.
I wouldn't if he's affected by a bad tainted blood. I wouldn't want to be there drinking an STD or no. I
STD.
mean,
I think more
this
that'd be
tainted
more of a
blood.
problem today.
I know, but I'm thinking like I watched the Frankenstein Chronicles, which takes place around the same time, and they showed you how like the Black Plague was going across London. I was like, ugh. I was like, hey, thank you. But yeah, like I said, it's fun. It's Clemens is kind of a heroic type, but not really. I mean, like he's just trying to make sense of it all. He's a scientist. He's more of a theorist. He does, and then you got the guy, there's a cook on there who believes in God, and he thinks God's punishing them. The other ones are just, freaking out. Like this, and like they do everything you want them to do. They're not just stupid idiots. Like, in a horror movie, you're like, oh, let's go to the tool shed. We'll hide there, like you see in the Geico commercial. No, these are actually like, dude, that was a good movie. That Robert brought up. I forget what it's called though. But like I said, very fun movie. It's a 2 hour movie. It's a slow pace, but it's a thriller, and you really connect with the characters. At least I did.
That was what made
Toby's in there.
Alien.
Yeah,
Have you ever seen the original
yeah.
Alien?
I've only seen Aliens. I did not watch the original Alien.
Okay. Alien is very
Yeah,
much the same way. Everything you're describing, it's all on one ship. Of course, it's a spaceship rather than there's a crew. Like you don't even see the alien for like the first hour of the movie. Like it's all
yeah.
it's all like getting to know this crew so that when the alien starts killing them off one by one, you really care. I mean, it really set the stage for horror movies.
Yeah.
Before like it revolutionized how things really Scott like it's kind of how he made his name because before then horror films and even a lot since then just had a lot of throwaway trash characters and it's like, oh look, someone to die. But when you make characters that people relate to and care about and everything, and then all of a sudden, you know, for the longest time, man, Alien was the movie like to beat. Like no, there was like not a more suspenseful thriller. Because
Yeah.
even when the alien does start killing people, you don't see it. Like you just see people like walking down the hall and stuff, and you're just like
Hmm.
biting your nails, you're like, oh my god, and then like nothing would happen.
Yeah.
You're like,
Yeah. So
you know,
this has all the animals. You're like, oh, there's a dog in here too, Huckleberry, but we call him Huck. And then there's the grandson of the captain, Toby. He's 9 year old. He's in charge of all the animals, and he's bonding with Clemens. It's like they're really like just getting you like set up for everything, and it's like, and for anybody saying, oh, it's a ripoff of Aliens. Aliens was a ripoff of this book. It's
well,
God, it's
I'm talking more of like the story structure because this is only a small
I'm
part of
saying
the
killing off,
Bram Stoker's
taking
Dracula.
what, yeah.
Um,
So
and it's it's a clever thing. I'm not trying to bag on it and say that that's the like makes it a bad thing.
no,
Alien is one of the all-time greatest like horror movies ever made. If someone were to retell the story, I like it actually. And rather than do a remake, I would rather do like what Seven, the Magnificent Seven does, where it's like, okay, we're gonna take the same story, but we're gonna tell it in a different setting. And so I'm all for it. Like I take a classic movie that it's beloved and if you want to read instead of just say like, oh, we're gonna do Alien again with new act, someone else is gonna play Ripley and whatever. It's like, well, no, don't do that. Well, you want to tell that story, put it in a different setting, and sometimes it can breathe new life on it. Um, so I'm glad. I'm glad it turned out
yeah,
to be good.
it's a one-time watch movie though. I'll
Oh,
say that
really?
though. Yeah, I
Oh,
mean it's not bad. I'm just saying it's the first time you're like, okay, now you know everything. But it's still cool though. It's always story wise, it's about a 6 out of 10. Story wise, it's very predictable for certain things, but visual 10 out of 10. It is
mm.
awesome as
So
far as
okay,
like
there's
the
only one thing I need to know
yeah.
before we can move on from this movie.
Hmm.
Um, the one thing that the trailer, like just from the watching the trailers, kind of befuddled me. You're on the ship
Hmm.
and you're sailing across the sea. Now Dracula can't swim. Right? It's part of the issue.
Hmm.
Like he also can't be in the sunlight.
Yes.
He needs to get to England.
Hmm.
It seems to me, just as I'm watching, I know I haven't seen the movie. It seems to me though, killing the crew of the ship that's sailing you to where you need to go, and you can't sail it yourself, is a problem. Now, does the movie address this?
They
So
do
that the
address this.
okay, that's
They
all I
do have a
want to know.
skeleton crew. They do have a skeleton crew. They have a limited amount of days. So it means he's got a limited amount of food.
Because it makes it sound like I'm like it's the last voyage of the Demeter.
Yeah.
So that makes it sound like he kills everyone on the ship. Ship kind of like goes down. I'm like, but that doesn't make sense. Like Dracula needs to get somewhere. Like you can't kill everyone. Like what are you doing? So I'm glad that the movie at least addresses it and tells about it. I don't need
Yep.
to know how it explains it, but as long as it does, I just hate when stuff like this is not taken into consideration like that sometimes.
Gazer literally comes in and she uses the force.
Jeez. Oh my
She says,
goodness.
Dracula, you are canceled. You're an old white man.
Speaking of canceled and using the force. So this is what I was watching last week, and I'm late to the party because this is I watch all the MCU stuff with my buddy and his kids. It's
Mhm.
kind of a traditional thing, and so we wait till it's all the shows out so we can binge through it. And I know a lot of been said about this show. It hasn't been said by me. Um, this was god awful. Uh, I and no Zach. Just by the way, Zach tried roasted me last week and say like I would cancel the show to watch this. That's not the case. We actually finish. We actually finished before the showtime. I just had other things. Kids have been gone away all summer, and so I was used to
Yeah.
a lot of freedom and not doing some of the household responsibilities and different things that I do here. And it was like all of a sudden they're back, and it's like, oh, okay, we got to make sure they got groceries and food. Like I'm doing like all this stuff, so don't do that. So, but I was watching this, and I was hating every minute of it. Um, this
Every single
was.
minute, so I watched it twice.
I'm so glad that I did not watch this ahead of time. And as a matter of fact, like the MCU shows, because my buddy is like, he doesn't like to wait. Like he doesn't want to wait like weekly for the episodes. He's like, I'm not even gonna watch the first episode until all the episodes are out so he can watch them.
Let's ruin you in all at once.
Well, in the case of bad shows, it's actually better. But I'm not like that. I'm like, if it's a good show, like I like stretching it
Are you
out.
kidding me? Like She-Hulk, I needed a week in between to just recuperate.
So so this show, man, look, it's not the worst. It's funny, it's not the worst. In some ways
No.
it's the worst, but in some ways it's not. Like it wasn't unwatchable. It like I never ever want to see Falcon and Winter Soldier ever again in my life. It was
Yep.
actually painful to me to watch that show. Like I was like
For-
hurting. It was like
So
now fun to watch in like a watching a train wreck kind of way. Like it was
mhm.
like I was like, yeah, this is really terrible. I hate this, but there's something like about it that I just find entertaining in its badness. This, however, was neither painful to watch but didn't benefit from the so bad it's good stuff. It was just it's just boring. Just
so
it was like
so
old man Nick Fury who had his balls chopped off didn't know how to be the badass like Nick Fury anymore. He's just the old man Nick Fury that spoiler alert
it's PTSD theory.
is spoiler alert, Nick Fury's married. Spoiler alert, he's married to a lizard woman. I mean, an alien woman. Gross. The final scene of the episode is him kissing his scroll wife in her scroll form. I was just like, oh my god, this what the
So
whole show is make men useless. That's castrate, figuratively speaking, all the men so that they're a bunch of beta males that can't do anything without a woman helping him. This was, like you said, PTSD Fury, who's got this super strong woman wife who has to be there to validate him and give him the support so that he can get on doing his job. And then the hero of the show is this girl who gets the powers of every Marvel character in the MCU, including characters we haven't seen on screen yet, so that she can become the
including the power of Drax's tattoo.
yeah, so dumb.
Um,
And
I want to
she's
say
so powerful, and then the main bad guy also gets these powers. So you'd think that he would be a match for her, especially since he knows how to fight and because he's a resistance guy and like has been fighting his whole life and been trained by Nick Fury himself. But he doesn't have the power of woman, so she just tears the I mean, she's not even a contest. She obliterates him so bad. And I'm just like, "Oh, okay, so
so I want to point out something.
go ahead."
You actually had a choice to stop watching this.
Mm-mm.
I'm doing this for the channel. Zach and I, every single week after the third episode, we got to the point where it's like, crap, it's Wednesday. He's like, oh shit. He was like, oh, especially when he came to, because I forget we're reviewing this. And like, it's like, oh, it's Wednesday. Yeah, what everything going on? There's no Flash. They're like, I was looking forward to watching more Flash than watching this. And Flash isn't that great.
I would have
It's
loved to review this show with you, but that would have meant I would have had to watch it twice because I've got like commitments. I watch all the MCU
are
with
you
my
married?
bro and his family. No, I mean, but it's like
I'm
a
just
it's
saying.
like a family thing to do, and and I realize like, look, there's gonna be times I don't like this stuff, and I just
Well,
sit
I'm just
through it
saying
or
that's what
whatever.
that's
But I
that's
would not have
Pixel.
watched
He
this.
watched that's Pixel. He got to watch things by himself. He has to watch as a family. I
Yeah,
was
I mean,
like,
I could
bro.
watch this by myself, but it's kind of a thing that we do with the kids. Like it's so I partake with it. They're kind of like
So here's my
nieces
question
and
though:
nephews to me.
Could you watch it with the kids? Did the kids love it?
No, well, I mean, I assume no because they didn't make any comments whatsoever about it. They were just like, "Okay, I'm going to bed. Good night." And it's like, um,
They
yeah,
were
no,
like, "Oh, that's cool."
no,
No.
there was no like positive reaction at all to the
so,
show.
so, uh, so if the Super Skrull, yes, because she's the first Super Skrull now. Uh, if she has the power of Spider-Man, I hope she turns into a giant freaking spider. That's how dumb it is. But they haven't,
It,
apparently haven't established, and then any of the Spider-Mans yet, that he continues mutating. They probably never will.
that's the thing too. Like, I was talking to my buddy afterwards. I was like, "Wait a second, like this show, the way this show leaves off, it it radically changes the MCU. Like
Hmm.
it replaces Nick Fury with British Amanda Waller, rip off
Yep.
clone, who to be frank, I actually liked the character quite a bit
Coleman, yeah, yeah, yeah.
until I kind of saw what they were doing with her and trying to like put her in a more prominent role and I'm like, as a side character she's cool. I don't want to see her replace Nick Fury. Um but this character is still alive. She has all the powers of every MCU character and
The character I
MCU
loved the most was
characters that
Robin,
we haven't
or
even
not Robin.
seen because you saw the list like they go through um it
The one that the one who played her dad. What was his name?
I don't know.
Gavin.
Oh, no,
Was
her
it
dad is
Talos?
Talos.
Talos.
And he dies
Yeah.
unceremoniously. Like I'm just like,
But he was the best actor on the show.
oh yeah, he was. I mean, and look, I mean, I like
The train.
the performances, like the actors in the show, like everyone did their best. It just what they were working with was clearly done by a person that had no love for the Marvel comics, had no sort of I mean, like I said, Nick Fury feels like a dude with his balls cut off. I was like, this is not Nick Fury. The whole point of Nick Fury is that he's the baddest effer, right? This is the guy that like wrangles all the superheroes and gets them to work for him, like including people like Thor and billionaire playboy, Tony Stark. He's like,
Yeah.
listen, you shits, you're working for me. He's a bad
You know what's
mofo. He's got no
you,
powers, and in this show, he's like, oh, can't do any of this
you
stuff
know what's
without
really
my
messed up
wife.
though? You know what's really messed up though? The MCU when they did Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness, whatever, is that like he created a cursion, or we call he created a crisis thing,
Uh huh.
when two realities collide, it destroys them both or one
Right.
or both. In the comics, is if it was revealed that if Malcolm Man, if he dies, that universe dies. So
Oh
it's
my
gonna be really
goodness.
interesting to see what they do as far as that, if that's gonna come back to bite them in the butt. Because what happens is like when Mr. Malcolm died in the comic books, Malcolm Man died. That's when the Beyonders showed up. You know.
Well, I don't think they're going to do
So
anything regarding that.
yeah,
I think they're going to radically
no, no,
change.
no. But I mean, like, it's at this them that's doing the whole multiverse thing, and like, so this is gonna lead into Secret Wars. This is like this. Well, this is going into New World Order movie. And the biggest thing that I was really annoyed by this is that Rhodey's been a skull this whole entire time. since he wasn't even there for Tony's death, for his funeral.
Yeah, I was the show doesn't really explain it, but I was asking the same question at the end. I was like, wait a second, has Rhodey been a scroll for the past 30 years?
Yeah, he wasn't even there for his
Because
for
they clearly make it out to be like he was captured for a long time, because when they let him out of those pods, all the humans,
mhm, yeah.
everyone's kind of like, okay, and they can like walk and they're just like shaking it off, but like Rhodey has to be like helped away. People have to like carry him because he's like, and I'm like, oh, they're making it sound like he's been in there so long, like he can't even stand on his own 2 feet anymore. Like, so I'm like, has he been there for 30 years? Like, because the whole
Since
show takes
Ultron,
place over 30 years. Yeah, I don't know. It's and
since the
so anyways,
Ultron events. Yeah,
they leave
yeah.
the show off in an area where you have this super ultra powerful character who's now essentially working for white British Amanda Waller. Nick Fury's gone off into space to go back and be a space hermit or something again. And the
Working
president of the United
between
States,
the Skrull and the Kree War.
the
Yeah.
president of the United States has decided to wage war and commit genocide on the entire
Mm-hmm.
Skrull race. And so people like they show it's not just the government, like people are taking it into their own hands because they've propagandized the people, and you see like like people are like gunning down other people, like live TV, like there's a broadcaster like oh da 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 da, and like someone like walks up and shoots them in the head because they're dead, and it's like
So they figured that basically the president said there's Skrulls among us,
yeah,
posing as people. So everybody's paranoid. People are shooting people. They think it's a Skrull, and some
right,
of the humans are actually casualties or die because of this.
right. So there's this like mass chaos. The super powered ultra being Mary Sue character that they made in this show is now working for the Amanda Waller, who's not American, by the way. She's British, and she's actually like convinces her to work with her against
Mm-hmm.
the United States because, of course, the United States is bad, and they gotta. And it's just, I'm like, you're setting up this major thing, and then what? Are you gonna sweep it under the rug? Like, I'm quite sure the Marvels movie is not going to address this.
Would be robot? Would you say
Oh, I'm saying so. Like, he would be killing his own race?
survival of the fittest?
No, that doesn't make sense. I mean, it would make sense if he was a scroll and then like the ending wasn't they're committing genocide against the scrolls. They could have had an ending where it's like, oh, cool, look, we have scrolls, we're gonna have peace, and the whole time like the president's really a scroll, and he's like, ha ha ha, like,
Well,
and they're
if their
gonna
goal was
and the secret invasion is gonna continue, like
because
unbeknownst.
Fury had said these humans are not gonna share the world with you. You know, they can barely share them amongst themselves. Finding on a planet. So the best way to take out the humans is let the humans kill each other.
Yeah, the best thing would have been actually is that Fury, the way the show ended, is result that Fury's actually a scroll, which would then not make me super weirded out with the interspecies relation that Nick Fury is essentially banging a lizard girl.
And then yeah, I realize Fury is a Skrull, and then David Hasselhoff, White Fury, walks out.
Oh, they don't need to go that far, but um, yeah,
You know what
and
would have been a
so
great, Nick
and that would at
Fury?
least alleviate like you could I like oh they made like can't even talk right. They made Nick Fury stupid, and I go well it's not the real Nick Fury, so I don't care. Like you know, oh well, good. No more time needed on this pile of absolute dog shit. I'm gonna say this is the second worst Marvel thing that I've seen, only because Winter Soldier tears, and I'll take boredom over
Which one?
pain any day.
Which one? 40 Tears?
And Secret Invasion.
What was the other one?
So Winter Soldier is the one that physically hurt me.
The movie?
No, 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 no. Sorry, Winter's Falcon and the Winter Soldier TV show.
Okay, yeah, okay.
Winter Soldier is probably the best movie. Like that might be that's like top 3 MCU. The movie Winter Soldier, but Falcon Winter Soldier, absolute That's my number one
I
worst, most hated. This
I
is
would
now
have had
number two.
Robert. I would have had Robert Redford as Nick Fury.
I'm okay with the Sam Jackson. Like they were just copying like the Ultimate Universe thing, like whatever. At this point, I do like Sam Jackson. It is what it is. It's been that way for so long. Stick with it. Don't erase it. But whatever the nonsense, like this where this show went. The thing is, you can't sweep this show under the rug, right? I can watch
Nope.
Miss Marvel, the TV show, and I don't despise the show, but I think it's way overrated. I think Englantine's high about his love for the show. I'm like, whatever, you're never gonna watch it again. I don't believe you. Um, but I can sweep that show under the rug. Like nothing important happens in that show. Right? Same thing with like Moon Knight. I actually
Yeah.
quite enjoyed Moon Knight until the last episode. But I don't need like Moon Knight, I can sweep that under the rug. I can sweep She-Hulk completely under the rug. This show's major. It's like anyways, done. We got to move on. The alarm went off, which means it is time. It is time for the main event.
You don't
Yeah.
watch wrestling.
No, I watch MMA.
Oh,
So I can imitate
well, like,
which one? I mixed the two up.
so okay, so the one that says enough talking. It's time for the main event.
No, I'm talking like
That's
Bruce
that's a
Buffer,
yeah.
the announcer.
Okay.
It's time. All right. So here we are. We got two comics featured on tonight's I don't know what you call it. It's not is it a review? It's not really a retrospective. It's just kind of that's a review, I guess. I don't know what else to call it. It's an informal review where we talk about comics that we've read that are on the stands. I can't say the newsstands because they're not on the newsstands anymore. But we try to do at least two every episode, and we're doing current books, and a lot of them are going to be indies because we're not trying purposefully to do bad comics. We're trying to find comics that either we like or we hope to like. Um, and so this week was kind of a slow week for both of us. But two particular books came out with a lot of, I don't want to say hype, but good word of mouth. People talking about it, some good buzz. And so RDV and I decided to go over these books. And the first one tonight is The Madness from AWA. I'm so glad they got rid of the stupid Upshot. I was like, no company needs to have two names.
They got rid of
Especially,
the upshot because I was like, it's still upshot, isn't it? No, it just says AWA on there. So
yeah, it's like, unless your company is bought out from another company and then you combine the names, like, why do you have two names?
like
It's stupid.
like AOL Time Warner.
Yeah. Um, so this is AWA. And I mean, there's a lot that could be said about AWA. They've been a really good publisher, like as from a quality standpoint, very consistent. My dislike of AWA has been that they've been a publisher of kind of like two minds. Like they can't figure out who they are, in my opinion. They came on the scene because they were introducing a new shared universe, and in that shared universe, which was from these books called was it the Resistance? Trying to think of what
I
the
don't
name
know.
was called. Anyways, but they got some creative talent together to create the shared universe. J. Michael Straczynski was one of them, kind of like a board of creative talent, and they came up with this shared world. Ecstatic is part of that shared world. Telepaths, which is another J. Michael Straczynski book, is part of that world. And I'm big on, I'm
Another
like,
book you
give
should pick
me a
out.
shared universe. I'm a fan of Marvel and I'm a fan of DC, not just because I like particular characters, but I like the concept of an open shared universe where the different books, even though they may not cross over, the stories impact the other books. You can feel the ripples, right? Um, and it makes for like a living, breathing, fictional world that I can partake in month after month indefinitely. And I think that's a magical thing that comics have lost. And I saw AWA, I got super excited, and then AWA they did that book, they launched it, and then went into started doing all these like horror miniseries, which I'm not against, like, but I'm like, that's not what you sold me on. And everything that I've read from AWA has been good, but I'm like, I don't want a bunch of miniseries that are unrelated. That's whatever. If I'm gonna do that,
So
I'm
this
just
is
gonna buy the trades when they're good. But the
so
madness,
this is yeah.
hold on, I'm almost there. The madness is by J. Michael Straczynski, number one, big name, a fan. Number two, I believe, unfortunately, they don't clearly mark, which is I think a mistake. They really should. But I do believe this takes place in part of the shared universe. Go ahead, RDB.
Yeah. I was gonna say this is another mini series. This is 1 of 6.
Yeah, everything they do is
But,
miniseries, unfortunately.
if you read Telepaths, you love that. You'll probably like this too, especially if you like Torrent, because that's the other reason I wanted. When I was like, oh, first I wanted to read because J. Michael Straczynski, so I was like, oh, it's a new book coming out of him. It's AWA. I'll give it a shot. And then I read it. It's like, holy crap! I've read. This is very similar to one of the books we just ended on here was Torrent. It has some similarities, but it also has difference. Not exactly the same, but it's different. It's its own little thing, animal. But then also because we're reading Big Game. Those that just you've read Wanted.
Mm.
So it's like, oh man, it's like all the superhero stuff, and this is a different story than I thought I was going to get from Michael Straczynski. And I was like, so when I started reading it, I just felt, dude, I got to read more of this.
So it
So
does
hopefully it
share
doesn't
some.
take
It
forever.
does share some similar themes to Torrent.
Yeah,
But like you said, also there's some significant differences. So this doesn't feel like a clone, but you
no,
can definitely go, oh yeah, there is some parts where like it crosses over in the Venn diagram. The book. I recognize that it's a pretty solid book, and I think a lot of people are going to like this book, and the buzz that it's been receiving. But it didn't quite work for me. However, I also want to say the caveat that this is only a first issue, and I have no idea where the rest of the issues are going to go. So it could be that the distaste that I have in my mouth it will be completely changed and transformed and it goes in a direction. I haven't seen it, but just purely on this experience, um, I was kind of disappointed. I will say one thing this book has over Torrent, which I like better, is the art. I thought the art in this book was
oh,
pretty solid. What about you?
please, I love Torrent and this. I think they're both equally the same as being well.
I got used to the art on Torrent, and the book was so good that the art was like whatever. This for me was like the art made the book better because I was getting some pretty good. Um, this book feels really well polished, right, from every aspect. The writing, you got the art. It just
Where Torrent was, she was a hero. The main character in this, she's a villain, and she's just trying to do one last score. So she's gonna quit, done with. You know, similar
yeah,
things.
a petty criminal with superpowers. Um, she's
Interesting though.
she's part of this universe, right? People have powers because of the event that you got to read for yourself I think it's called the Resistance. But anyways,
Yeah,
she has powers. It's interesting because she has multiple powers. She's got super speed, flight,
yeah.
invulnerability.
I want to point out though, yeah, that she can only use one at a time, just
Exactly.
like we just saw
That's what I
with
was. Kind of. Yeah, the bastards have to download new powers. She has all the powers, but she can only activate one at a time. So she can be super strong, super fast, fly, or invulnerability. I think those are the ones that they listed. So it's really interesting. Like talk and then when the scene and look, there's good things about this book. When I'm saying that I didn't like this book, it's not from a technical level or a badly written level. It's more of just the writer's choices kind of worked against what I enjoy, right? It's like you can give me, like really good. I'm trying to think of something I dislike, or like if there's a dish of food that I hate, you can make it really well, and I go, yeah, this is not really for me.
You make
Um,
Little Caesars really well.
no, I like pizza, I like good pizzas. This is not the case with this. This is not Little Caesars of comics. This is a quality book. Um, and Straczynski showing off his understanding of story structure. I love in the beginning here
Yep.
how the story takes I guess the fiance uh is talking. She's explaining her job that she's going to do this one last job. She's a thief,
Hmm.
and she's like, this is like the trope, like I got one last job. It's going to set us up for life. Blah blah blah. And of course, it's super dangerous. She's robbing like the sheik's brother because like there's no place to run if something goes wrong. You're out in the middle of the desert. There's nowhere to go for help, and you're instead of like low rent
He's just
security
saying,
guards, you're going against like top rate mercenaries.
he's
And
like telling her like, you don't have to do this. You got me and you got the kids.
yeah, and
They
he's
threw kids in there.
explaining.
I was like, ah.
It's a really good way. I really did like this part of like how to explain how her powers worked and like get you up to speed without exposition. And he's like,
Exactly.
you can't be flying if you're super strong, and you're not super fast. If you are super fast, then you're not invulnerable. But you see
Oh,
her
you
actually
see that?
doing the job as you're hearing the voiceover, so you're not duplicating like the pages, like you're getting double the
If you go back,
information. Yeah.
it spells your name on the bottom.
Huh?
Go
Where?
back. Okay, you went too far back.
I'm sorry. It's a delay.
Next one over, right there in the bottom. Because it cut off. It's supposed to cake.
Um. So she does the job, and she's a super badass. And so this is one of the things that I did not like about the book is I feel for me that my intelligence was kind of insulted. Um, I probably should just turn this off. I'm like, it's a comic book, but so many things in this book would happen. Like here, she beats up all the people. Now remember, she's in the middle of the desert.
Eller, maybe she flew it away.
How does she fly it away? Remember, she's not
What do you
super
mean?
strong if when she's got flight. So she's flying. That's all she can do. No strength.
Maybe she can teleport. I don't know.
Maybe I mean, it doesn't explain, and I'm just like, people
To
who
me,
don't.
I didn't catch that, and I really
Right.
don't
If you
still don't
don't
care.
catch it and if you don't care, it's not going to bother you. Right. And I'm
Yeah.
fine. And I'm not trying to tell anyone else that it should bother them. The problem is it bothered me. Things like that would happen multiple times here. And like the president's being briefed on the situation, and this country that has no name, but somewhere in the Middle East is like, look, the brother who was taking the gold, it wasn't his gold. And this woman who stole it needs to be dealt with. And he's like negotiating with an American ambassador and saying, you're going to need to do this if you want our aid. To which I'm just thinking, why in the F do you? But basically, he's making America kowtow to
You're also
him.
playing real world politics to it, though. We don't know what the politics power like is like in this world that he has created.
Correct. However, if you don't give me information to show that the world is different, then I have to assume it's the same. So yes, if you that could be been totally fixed for me if there somehow would have
Mhm.
explained the situation, but it made it difficult as I was reading through this. And the problem that I have is I need to be sold as the reader. I have to buy into your fiction. I'm willing to suspend my disbelief. I know it's fantasy. Like, look, people don't fly. I get it. Like, but it just it didn't seem to work. Like I was like, I don't buy any of this happening. Why is the president and like so because this one guy who wants his money back basically tells the US president you need to kill this woman. So now the president is now arguing or talking with his advisors about I could be impeached if I do this. So what should we do? Well, I got an idea. Let's hire the Justice League to drop a bomb on her. And I'm just like, where the hell is this even going? Like, because they're like deciding like they could just they're going to use military force to take her out, and they're like, well, we can't do that because we have
Yeah,
rules and laws.
really feels like an Alan Moore story, doesn't it?
And so the whole time, again, my complaints are I was pulled out of the story because I was constantly going, what? I'm not buying this. But it's not because it's a bad story.
It's
Structurally,
because
plot
it's you.
wise,
You're flawed.
well, maybe I am, but anyone's the case. If you don't like certain things, if certain things you don't like, love Jeremy Adams. You love Jeremy Adams on Flash, but when he went over to Green Lantern, you weren't quite as excited because to you, you're not happy seeing the relationship that Hal has with his ex, and it's just not entertaining to you.
It's why it nothing with Jeremy Adams. I just never
Yeah,
liked.
exactly.
Yeah,
So I'm trying to say kind of the same thing here. J. Michael Straczynski's a solid writer. He's doing good things, but the things he's doing, I'm having a hard time digesting.
yeah.
But that doesn't mean any.
Yeah, I was here for a paycheck, and that's about it. Or
Yes.
it was kind of like The Boys a little bit too, mixed with the Guardians of the Globe.
Yes. This is very much. Yeah, you're spot on. I just said Justice League because they're the most like well known.
Yeah.
This is a really cool scene, however. We can work with that. Shade? It's like, wait, you're gonna take care of me for eternity? What? So definitely the big difference here, they're not like the Justice League because like you said, they're more about the paycheck. These are not heroic
Yeah.
people. They all, except for one person, decide to take the money and kill this woman. And the plan is basically they just need a superpowered individual to drop the bomb because they can't use military, like they can't use a jet or something because the president who's essentially murdering innocent Americans, which is against his authority and it's illegal, can't do the can't use jets because that would be illegal. So I'm gonna go to the what it amounts to our version of the Justice League and hire corrupt heroes to drop the bomb themselves. Like it's just one of those things where I'm
Yeah.
just like, if you're willing to break rules, but then he's like, we can't break that rule, sir. That's illegal. It's like, wait a second. But be that as it may, part of the story is needed. I did like the art. I do like the dialogue. I like the characters. And this is the part I think where Straczynski excels in the story because we get to the scene where the fiance surprises Raven
Yeah.
in her little hideout because she thinks she's been all stealthy and I did this and I did that so no one could find me. But the one thing she didn't do was leave the laptop, like when she went to take a shower, her laptop was open. Now, no one else that would matter to because they don't have access to see it, but because he's lives with her or whatever, he could see it, and that's how he's able to find. Anyways, be as it may, I thought that was a little clever way of like why he could find her. He brings his kids. They're all excited to be at this cabin, blah blah blah, and you see the missiles coming, and they're all happy. He proposes to her, and the last minute, one of the kids looks up, "Hey, Dad, what's that?" Boom.
Yeah.
And this is kind of, I think, if I'm right, you're gonna say what you draw in with Torrent because what happens next,
Well,
unsurprising to anyone, guess who survives?
her, because her power, she survives, but something in her breaks,
Yes.
and this is much worse than Torrent. Torrent, she just wanted to kill a guy. Something mentally broke in her.
Yes. In Torrent,
And
it was more like a sadness, like took over her, like
yeah,
she lost so much, and she was seeking to right that to like
yeah,
here, like I love this panel, just a close up of her eyeball. it's like
She sees blue
the
eyes.
making of a
That's red now.
supervillain. She's just like,
See how it's blue on top? Now it's turning red. It's kind of like being a. It's like One More Day, but but on like steroids. Uh, so yeah, she just saw her fiance and the 2 kids turn to ash, vaporized,
she flies
and
away. That's when she realizes,
and
she's like, there's no one at the cabin, and she's like starting to piece together what
process.
happened because she's
Like,
like,
well, it's like a Wolverine kind of regenerating.
well,
Yeah,
yeah, she's kind of in lettering here is like the lettering is used as a panel in itself. She
in the word
flies
bubble.
away,
Yeah,
and boom, she lands in the crater where the missile hit. And
finds the
she's just,
ring. Yeah,
yeah, she's like, oh
bone
God,
seems to.
please no. Um, and so this is the part of, again, this is a personal taste thing that I had trouble digesting. And it's not that it's unrealistic. It's not that it's bad writing. It's none of that. It just, again, this is just my cup of tea. Is I'm reading this story about this character. Like, I'm supposed to care about characters. And I'm like, look, it's troublesome that what happened to you. Like, I get it, your grief, but bitch, you went and stole $1 billion of gold from Middle Eastern terrorists.
This
Like, like,
yes, and
like
this is
you caused this, and now it's like, oh God, please, no, no. Your grief is correct,
so
but it's hard for me as a human being, like as the reader. I go, I
yeah,
don't
but
have sympathy for you.
this isn't new though. This has happened to other characters too, where they think they can all I'll do this, I'll be fine, and they and then they kill, and then something happens, and then they realize they're the ones that caused it. So
Yeah.
she's losing her sanity, and as this other personalities taking over. That might have been there below the surface the whole entire time.
Yes.
We don't know.
Yes. You're correct.
Um,
And
yeah,
so
yeah. So
I want to be not criticizing the book objectively to say like any of this
mhm.
is particularly bad. If this is your cup of tea, you will probably like it because it is well done. It's just what I'm reading is a story from my perspective. Like I said, I don't know where the story's going to go, but it looks
to me,
like
it's like
it's like
yeah.
a descent into madness. This character, she flips a switch and is becoming a
And
supervillain.
honest, this kind of feels like injustice in a sense.
Yes.
Superman when Lois dies, you realize it, and he just switch in totally different person. Um, in other words, if you read Flashpoint, when Bruce is killed, Martha just loses it. She becomes the Joker. You know. But and it's like I said, I like this is that she's now. Before she was this a comment and a little thief, she's now a darker personality that's coming out at this point. Now I want to see where this is gonna go. Is she just gonna be super villain going after the league, taking them out, and then killing the president and taking out the White House and stuff, or is something else is gonna happen? Like
That's a really good question.
like is she gonna go the way of Butcher? That's what I want to know. Is she gonna pull a Billy Butcher, and get revenge,
Well,
no
she
matter the
looks like she's
cost?
beyond Butcher. I mean,
Yeah, I know.
the way they're presenting her here is just like
Yeah,
she's
like
lost it.
yeah, yeah.
Um, so we show her, is it 2 days later, there's a bar when we see one of the guys like that looks like the presidential advisor.
No,
Says,
that's the guy who gave them the missile at the bottom. The guy in the before he took it off, the hero. That's the guy. Yeah, if you go back, that's the
that's
same
the
guy.
hero? I thought it was
No, it's right there. That's that guy. That's the guy in the thing, the bunker there. He's like, here's the missile. He's like, is it doing the spot? Nope, I don't even want to know. It's not my business, it's not my department, but my pay grade. I don't even want the paperwork. So this guy has nothing. He has no idea what's going on. All I know he's supposed to give him this missile. That's it. Provide him with that, and that's it.
okay,
So,
yeah.
so she's starting from the bottom up, pretty much.
So is that
But
Captain Micronaut? That must be Captain Micronaut.
the guy like right at is the hero.
So anyway, so okay, that's cool. I didn't piece
Yeah.
that together. So I thought this was one of the presidential advisors, but so she meets up with him and you know, basically kicks the shit out of him or whatever. Then she's
She's supposed to Batman, but instead of being off a building, she's like high above the everything ground, holding on to him.
well,
You
what's
look at
weird
her
to
there,
me
and
is
he's like,
like
oh,
he. So now I'm like kind of confused. I'm like, wait, he's Captain Micronaut, and he flew with a missile. He shouldn't be afraid of being up in the air.
no, because not. It's this is regular military guy. It's not Micronaut whatsoever.
Wait, I'm confused. Let me go
Micro
back.
Captain Micronaut is the guy in the red suit right there. Yeah, yeah,
Okay.
he is the guy. You know, it'd be like going into
So
like
how would she know who he is then?
we don't know yet.
Okay,
It's one of
fair.
those things you're gonna hate until you put
Maybe.
it together.
Well, right now I don't. I'm just like I don't get this. I'm confused. But be that as it may, I think this
Maybe
was a
she has a new
quality.
power now.
I think this
Yeah.
is a quality book that so far is not. It's not firing for me. I
So
believe
I'm
you
curious
like it a
though.
lot better.
This version of her can use all the powers at once
Oh, that's
at the
true.
same time.
That's a possibility.
Like I said, we'll see how it goes. I really love Torrent, and like I said, I love stories about people who are corrupt individuals. This getting their just dues. The artwork's good. Is the story, like I said, it's not the strongest of stories, beginnings.
I think the
I
story
want
is
to get,
actually
I give
pretty
it,
good. I just
yeah.
it's just not
It's not,
the story I want,
yeah,
I guess. Is that
yeah.
I think one of the things that really utterly doesn't work for me, reason to care about this character. I care about the two kids and the boyfriend. Like they were the
hmm
innocents, right? Like to me, I'm like, they didn't deserve this. But
It's a rush. It's a rush
she
first issue.
does.
Yes.
She does
There's no
deserve it. So
backstory.
she's the like when I watch or sorry, when I read Torrent, that tragedy hits a lot harder because
It does. It
she's a
does.
hero.
You
She's like saves people. She
yes.
does good. This girl wasn't doing good. She was ripping off people, and then she brought
And
terrorism
I want to
to
see
her
at the
doorstep.
end. Like I said, at the end, she may die. At
She
the
might.
end,
She might.
the hero who objected to it might be the one who puts him down.
And this
Whatever
might
this.
be a
Yeah.
villain origin story, like
Yeah.
which is useful. Like it's nice to have background and understand like where
And
this
if this is
ultimate villain
connecting
come
to
from.
yeah, and if this is connecting to that other world, the connected universe, this is an origin story. Kind of like where what like Wanted was an origin story. Now he's in big game. They said maybe this. We don't know.
All
But
right.
I'm curious. Yeah, like I said, I'm curious to see what's gonna happen. I don't know. I right now I really don't care about her. I mean, as a human being though, I still care. Like it's horrible to go through that thing. We're all humans. We all make mistakes. She's paying for hers. No, every action has a reaction. Cause and effect. And I'm
So,
curious to see where this story's gonna go.
all right. So we got ratings. 1 to 5 stars, no half stars. 1 being terrible, 2 being not
Right,
good.
right now,
3
this is about a
being
4 for me.
okay, 4 being good, and 5 being like, "Oh yeah, dude, that's
This,
amazing."
this is a 4 for me.
4? All right.
Yeah. No, like you said, it's not very strong. It's not very strong.
I give this a 3. So far. I could see a potential of this developing to a better book. I like the art. I like Straczynski. Um, it currently is not tickling my entertainment bone.
Yeah, like I said, for You Be Spies, I give a lot of books 4 stars. Even the Flash, Jeremy Adams, were giving 4 stars.
Makes sense. I mean,
Because
we're
yeah,
predisposed to read the things that we like, so there's going to be
yeah.
bias already inherent in there.
hmm
It's
Like I
sometimes
said,
it's more accurate when you rate books that you aren't. It's not like one of the books that you're like is your book, you know. I feel
it's
it's
like
like sometimes
this.
we can be more
So
honest.
so I look at this as like this is kind of like instead of us, we're used to be following Batman around. Imagine if we had got introduced to Joker first as a villain
You're right.
instead of
What
yeah,
I'm saying is I wouldn't want to read that story. Not saying that story is
no,
bad, not
yeah,
saying it shouldn't be told,
No.
I just find it distasteful. Like I don't like evil. Like I just don't like that. And I need characters. And this was my problem when we were doing The Boys, and I was telling you in the beginning, I was like, dude, I need someone to hold on to. Like Billy
And
Butcher's
we might.
awesome, but
Yep.
I couldn't read the book if it was just him. And so when you had
Yeah.
what's his name? What's the other character's name?
Wee little
Huey.
Huey.
Wee Huey. Like Wee Huey made that book work, for me. And
So
so we'll
so
see. I don't
we
know
might
where
get
this is
something in
going.
the next season.
So 3 from me, 4 from if this is a
So
book that's for them.
with Lady with his crush, right? Lobo's daughter. Kind of silly.
That crush. So we're gonna go ahead and move on to our second book.
Sure. Mosey on over to a little
Now
Wild West story.
this I
And the
missed
worst art.
Jimmy. Jimmy was here. Sorry, Jimmy. I had the full screen up and I didn't see the chat. I don't know if you're still
Yeah,
listening,
Jay
but
left.
I missed you.
He's gone.
He's gone. I feel bad. But the rest of you are
Went to bed.
witness that I said goodbye. Too late.
Yeah, the three of you that are left. Actually, the two of you that are left, because I'm one of them.
So Jay agrees with me. That's a rarity. So appreciate that, Jay. And Uzab says I keep cutting out. I apologize. Something's going wrong with the stream tonight. I don't know what it is. I can't troubleshoot once I'm live. So the only thing I could really do is like shut down the stream, reboot everything. Like it just, I don't know if it's YouTube. I don't know if it's my internet. So hopefully it's not staying bad.
This is also a mini series.
Now this, so this is a spin-off of a comic book series that I got into called That Texas Blood.
It's
And
like
go ahead.
just like Yellowstone has this would be like the 1912.
Yes, exactly. I
Whatever.
was thinking of that exactly. Those familiar with the television show Yellowstone, which I've been wanting to try to get watch because it gets a lot of hype, and you can't find it anywhere because none of the streaming services have it.
Paramount does.
Paramount doesn't have it.
Really?
Yeah, I was shocked. They have the spin-off shows, but they don't have the actual Yellowstone. So
I wonder why not.
But
That's
I think
weird.
it's because of when they made the show, they probably signed certain contracts with like television channels or whatever. I'm sure that
Mhm.
there's contracts that they're now are biting them in the ass because they didn't realize how popular it was going to be. But that being the case, but one of the things I like about Yellowstone is what they're doing here. They did spin-off shows of Yellowstone that take place with the same family, but in different generations. They have one I think that's like 19. Is it like 1920s?
1920s is the one with Harrison Ford.
And they have another one that's like in the 1800s.
Yeah.
They have a couple. Chris Condon, the writer, wrote some stuff at the end, kind of explaining this is a true story. But not only is it a true story, according to him that you read at the end of the book, it's a contested true story. He talks that historians have taught that this is a certain way, but he's gone through and he's done research on this. And it turns out that history may not actually be what we thought based on certain evidence. A key
Are you
one
kidding
coming
me?
from a journal from one of the members of the Enfield gang itself, the only surviving member of the Enfield gang. There's a journal. Very interesting. I read that at the end and I was like, oh. So everything we're reading in this book, while we can't attest to it being 100% true because it is disputed with some historians, at least is understood history. And it seems to me
Yeah,
that
I
Chris
mean,
Condon is definitely, he's in his mind, he's being as accurate as possible to the events.
I was pleasantly shocked when they pulled up their cell phones and started taking selfies and then texting each other.
So Zach didn't want to read this book because he got to page 1 and he saw an ad and he's like, F this, I'm out.
Yep.
Can you imagine you could buy a gun for the same price as a comic costs today?
$100 back then to them was like $1 million.
Look at that, $3.99.
Yeah,
So
you're pay, quarter was a big deal. Look at comic books. Remember comic books were 12 cents. 21 pages, 12 cents. Yeah. Now when I saw this font here, I'm like, reminds me of the other one, the Ballad of Bugs or whatever it was called. It's on Netflix.
yeah, I've been wanting to see that as another Western.
Yeah. So
Um,
when I saw the title like that, I was like, it really looks like the layout of the other movie. Buster Scruggs. You know what?
yes, yes.
Yeah.
So it's chapter 1, The Bad Death of Bill Barley.
I read it as Bill Bailey.
Okay. Um, Oklahoma, 1906. Um, and we get takes place at a Wild West show, Doc Mallody's Wild West show, and this was these were big things at the turn of the century to people like trying to capture the mystique and everything of the Wild West.
Yeah.
And
There was another book that was just like this. I was thinking about when I was reading this, guys telling a story and stuff. Oh, what book was that? It was the one with the guy who was a writer.
wasn't there an American Vampire story that was open like this too?
Yeah, there was a Wild West show they were doing it for a while in one of them. Yeah, one of the volumes. But I thought they also did this too. The storytelling like this. I kept thinking of like, what was the one you guys like, the pulp called Pulp, right?
Pulp, yeah.
Yeah, it kind of reminded me of Pulp with similarity of some of the stuff, but also the Lone Ranger movie was this too. Remember
I've
the
never seen the Lone
sideshows?
Ranger movie.
Oh, he didn't. Oh, he didn't see it.
But
Oh,
these are, I mean, this was a popular thing. I mean, most people know about who was the
yeah.
guy that was really famous that did these?
Buffalo Bill
Buffalo Bill, yeah.
or Wild
Did
Bill. I can't remember what his name was.
I think it was Buffalo
I
Bill.
know, well, Buffalo Bill was also the one that was in you know, Silence of the Lambs. But
No, but there was
might
no,
have
who
been
was the one
yeah.
that
Wild Bill, I think it
was it
was.
Davy Crockett?
Oh,
I
Dave
don't
Croc
know.
was the Alamo.
Well, right, when this is all
The Clint
Texas.
Eastwood one was Wild, as it was Wild Bill or something like that, or Buffalo Bill. Might have been that. Regardless, so I thought the art here was kind of they show his body corpse. I was like, oh, that is really grotesque. Ugh.
Yeah. Well, he's a rotting corpse.
I know the fact that somebody has it. I was like, I wouldn't even want to go in there.
So
So
we open up with the Wild West, and this guy, showman or whatever, he's trying to like wow the crowd, and ooh, he's talking about the story of the massacre, the Enfield gang massacre, and then this corpse is the leader of the gang, Enfield himself. And then it
yep,
cuts over, and I love the coloring here, right? And the artist is, by the way, Jacob Phillips, who is um,
son of Sean Phillips.
son of Sean Phillips, who also does the coloring for all of Brubaker and Phillips stuff. So he's he's an
Yeah,
amazing colorist. The coloring, his art
I
is
didn't.
looking more and more like his dad every day.
Yeah, I was gonna say that opening page. I wasn't getting care for the art.
I don't think you're
Yeah,
supposed to, like, as it's old timey. But when it
yeah,
cuts over to the past, which is where our story takes place, it's nice and bright and vibrant.
with
I
Gene
love,
Hackman.
I love the coloring. Um, and it cuts over to our main character, Infield, or one of the main characters. And he robs this bank. It's Fort Lahane in Texas, 1875. And it's a kind of a fun scene where he's like robbing, and the bank guy is like, "Man, this makes 3 times in the same number of months. You keep taking the money, I ain't got no wait. You keep taking the money, ain't nobody gonna give it to me in the first place, and then there ain't gonna be no money for nobody." And he's like, "Where's the fun in that?" He's like, "Fun? This ain't fun. It's capital. Ain't you want to settle down, go straight? You can work for the bank. I'll pay you. Ain't nobody gonna rob a place guarded by the likes of you." He's like, "Well, that's just the thing, ain't it? I already work at the bank. Huh? 1 day a month for the last 3, and I'm afraid I'm underpaid." Just I just thought it was a really cool scene. Um, Teller's like, oh man, your days are numbered. You know, and then he leaves. Enfield leaves. He's like, well, see you next month. Tarnation. And it's just
Yep.
this book
Uh,
screams Western.
Cowboy. Old Western. Yeah, old
Yeah,
Westerns.
like I love it. I love the cool, like witty kind of banter back and
This
forth between the bank
it
guy
looks
and
like a
the robber.
no, doesn't it seem like a 90s Hollywood Western?
Yes. This book,
Kind of like
for
Tombstone?
me,
Yeah.
like Tombstone,
Yeah.
yeah, I could see Tombstone, but also like one of my favorite westerns of all time, Unforgiven. Um,
Yeah, that too.
just absolutely. As I was reading this book, I was like, man, I want to see this into a movie. It's a good western. So we got the people in town are all upset because crime is rampant
Sheriff doesn't do
and the
shit.
sheriff doesn't do shit. um, and really, one of the things I loved about this book is the dialogue, man.
Yeah, between the mayor and like the theory's like, well, if you don't like him, vote somebody else in, but somebody else has to step up. No one's gonna step up, so shut up then. Pretty much.
The dialogue in this book, one of my pet peeves in reading comics or anything in general, is when characters talk like they don't
Like
belong.
robots.
Well, or robots is bad too.
Yeah,
But
I like when they have
when I read a
personality like this.
period piece, like if I'm watching, for example, perfect example. Have you seen the new Dungeons and Dragons movie that came out like a year or two ago with Chris Pine?
Don't you talk bad about potatoes.
Okay. So in that movie, it's Dungeons and Dragons. Okay, fine. Dungeons and Dragons takes place in a fictional fantasy world, but it takes place in a medieval type of time period. I want the characters to talk in ways that reflect the period that they live in, right? Like, and you might say, well, Ash, it's just, I don't want them to sound like
You want to sound
Twitter.
like the characters from Fable.
I don't want to sound like Twitter. I don't want them to sound like they're 2023, right? Like, I don't want to hear what I hear on TikTok, or YouTube. Like, that's fine for today. Characters shouldn't.
Mhm.
I know, and I think like a lot of bad writers, they don't know how. They only know how to write what they know current. Like this is how people talk now. So everyone at any point in history, no matter what, talks the same way. And it's one of the things that bothers me. But when you can put a voice in characters that helps sell me in the location and the time or whatever that they're in, it makes a world of difference. And I think Chris Condon nailed the character talk in this book.
Like I said, he gives them a personality right there. He's a Texas Ranger. But like, and you're right away, you're like, is this guy corrupt? Or is he good? Because at the time there were some bad guys. And the mayor, he's a yellbelly coward. He kind of switch. He's all about money, He can tell he's power hungry himself. But he's also an idiot. But he's smart enough to realize, when he says something, and then and he's like, yeah, he says right there, he's like, whoa, thanks to for reminding us, Mister whatever the guy, whatever his name, I can't read it, but it says that said we are open to any potential aid from the Texas Ranger that might leave. He's like, I don't recall offering any. He's like, oh well, that's enough, I suppose. That's fair enough. Like, he's a charlatan. The mayor is, and like I just loved it. And these are, yeah, obviously these are tropes. I've seen these in other movies before too, but they're good though. And like I said, if you can pull from other movies tropes and characters, give them a personality, it's so much more entertaining.
Yep.
You know. And
100%.
obviously, that looks like Sam Elliott, doesn't it? The Ranger.
I could see casting Sam Elliott in that role if you did this live, for sure.
Yeah.
Yep.
Uh, yeah.
As a
Like I
matter of
said,
fact, I
like
was reading it. The mayor below, I would actually, what's his name? Who played Tombstone? What's his name? Yeah, Kurt Russell.
Kurt Russell.
I could see Kurt Russell as the mayor, especially since it's old Kurt Russell, not what we think of
Yes.
Tombstone Kurt Russell. Kurt Russell's like an old guy now with that
I would put
beard.
as Jeff Bridges. It could be Jeff Bridges, old man.
Russell kind of has that beard now. A badass, sheriff, and instead he's playing the kind of Weasley politician. you know.
I was
Um,
you can even put Dustin Hoffman in there.
sure, yeah, there's a lot of people. I mean, but I like the juxtaposition. I like the Texas Ranger. I don't know if it's Eli or Ellie. Is Ely? They call him
Yeah.
Captain Ellie, Captain Eli. I'm gonna say Captain Ellie. Um, but uh, yeah, he's like, I don't recall offering any spits. Oh yeah, well that's good enough. I would like. I love this scene here too.
Yeah.
Like he's just like just the drama that it portrays. Like he's just like, I would, however, feel inclined if in the circumstances warranted. But as it stands, the sheriff here is in fine health and standing, and I feel comfortable saying, like he's like pontificating, like,
Yeah,
and then all
he's
of a sudden,
showboating.
murder, and everyone's like, wait, what? Huh? What's going on?
You
A-
could hear a lot of Oz gas, like, oh,
And then this guy comes in. He's like, "There's been a murder at the bank, and Bill Barley's dead." And they're like, "What?" And so he collapses and dies, and it's like, and this now all of a sudden,
but then I also go back to like from Dusk to Dawn, the sheriff, the ranger that was going after them.
Mhm.
You know, because he's like at first he's like, wow, I would go after them. He's kind of like a Josh Brolin, character. I
Yeah,
would go after them, but I see I'm retired. Here's a
yeah.
murder. I'll get him. So
He's like, yeah, he sees the kid dies
yeah,
in his arms. This man is dead. And we cut over to the gang, and the gang is celebrating their loot from the hall.
and then we go
And
into like this
we
goes
s- one of the
the
gang members
young
is
guns.
talking. Yeah, one of the gang members
It's
is
like
talking to the wife
uh,
of
yeah,
Enfield, and
yeah,
she's just like, I don't
Infield's
know,
wife.
but I know my man. He just won't talk to me. And he's like, I'll take care of it. So he goes and finds Enfield having a smoke by himself up on a hilltop, and they have a talk. And Enfield's been pondering. When we last left him, he's at the bank, and he's just like, nope, I'm not taking your offer. But we can see that a seed was planted, right? And I
Yeah,
love this too. I love this because it's so true about humanity that sometimes you can try to convince someone of something, and then they're just like, no, no, I'm not doing it, right?
yeah.
But the
I love how
seed can
he
plant,
says
and
he's
he's
like,
been.
yeah.
Go ahead.
Our ways are it's basically the same thing as Pulp. Remember, when we were
Yeah,
younger, times are changing and all stuff. He's like, it's like, and feels we only done this, only to survive. So it's like, and then the guy standing, I was like, well, get the wondering maybe he's like survive. Just is a bee wrong when it takes pollen from a flower? Is a spider wrong when it eats a fly? He's like, I don't know. I think I'm just gonna go find out, or forget because he basically drink himself. I'll find out the answer. He's like I said, I just love the banter between these two. It's like be like a Clint Eastwood, and what was that movie? Uh, Thunder and Lightfoot, or something like that, or something like
yeah.
that.
I think that's what it's
Yeah,
called.
yeah, and that was Jeff Bridges and Clint Eastwood. Jeff Bridges was the laid back guy, kind of cool guy, and then Clint Eastwood was more like the rational thinking. He's like, just relax, we'll fine, we'll be fine. So, and that's kind of characters that Kurt Russell would play too. So I could see him like, and you see those roles. I love these kind of tropes. Like, it's like, want me to change? No, this is what I grew up doing. This is the way I'm gonna die doing it. That's just the way they're raised. They're hardwired, and obviously, and at this point, we know that somebody set up Ensign. You know, because there's Ensign is over here. I personally don't think Ensign went over and killed the boy. He left. He saw him leave. I think somebody just wants him out of the way. You know, and at first I thought it was the sheriff. The ranger. Did the ranger do it? But the ranger was standing there the whole time. How could he kill the kid? You know, it's like now it's one of those things like who done it, and as Breen had said on Geeky Puppet Show when he was talking about the book, he's like Ensign could have he could have this or is Ensign? I can't remember. Is that his name is
Enfield.
Ensign? Enfield. Enfield could have just avoided all this shit if he just would have said yes, I'll work for you, the old guy. But now the old guy's dead. Now he's screwed. Now it's But it's only the first issue. We don't know. I mean, how it's gonna turn out for these characters. He's like, but it's really setting up to be. It's gonna be like the OK Corral, and or this could end up being like Young Guns with Billy the Kid. You know, could have just avoided all this shit if he just would have said yes, I'll work for you. But
Yeah.
continue. Little guy's dead now. He's screwed.
Sorry, I'm on off the screen here. I think that I think we can safely assume that Enfield did not kill Bill Barley, right? Because he's talking about to his pal here, like, yeah, we got offered a job and stuff, and there doesn't seem to be any malice towards that at all. And he's actually pondering Barley's idea. But we cut back to the bank. Enfield, it's got to be Enfield. My Mary says that they robbed the bank today. Saw him riding out, she did. And then we see that the Texas Ranger's kind of like side-eyeing him. He's like, So he goes over to the bank, looks in. Judge, sheriff, what was his name? Mowbray. Yeah. He's an important character, actually. If you read, I'll talk about that later. Judge, sheriff, Mowbray, need y'all inside. The rest of y'all go home. Well, just wait I says go home. Got a strong constitution? What do you mean? We need to cut him down.
I know.
Down?
I saw that.
Look at him. It's like, even he's putting a
I didn't have
cloth
to
up
look.
to him.
Yeah, this right there. Before we got this, just him put his face. I was like, "What's your constitution?" I was like, "Oh, come on, no."
So not only was he killed, but he wasn't just shot. Like, he was hung up, and then you can see like his entrails. So he was just like gutted. This is gross.
You know what I saw there? Look on the window. No law here.
Yeah.
I didn't notice it the first time I read that.
I didn't notice that either. No, thanks for pointing it out.
But this, when I saw this so strung up, like I go right back to Ram V's freaking Carnage. Carnage was stringing people up like that. My early decision.
It's just, oh man, the art and the coloring. Like, this is a cool book. And yeah, so we cut over. And we see him. Enfield's basically thinking about what he's been doing. Enfield's not even aware. Doesn't seem even aware that what's been going on.
Those two are in there at the bar, just sitting there drinking.
Yeah, and they're like, he's talking about.
You guys are out there practice shooting, and you see these three figures in there. I'm like, oh man, it's the Pinkertons.
Yep. And they're so we see the gang. They're practice shooting. Dang it! I swear I hit it. You two with Enfield? Yeah. Who wants to know? He inside. I said, who wants to blam? just that's the way you got to do it, man. Like, the West was wild. And I'm assuming that's probably Ellie, but we don't know for sure because he's in shadows, which is good storytelling, mystery. And then we cut back to Enfield and probably his right-hand man, kind of they're just pondering the rest of their life.
Are they even... yeah, and are they even in the correct saloon? Or is he going to go in there and find it empty? They're in a different saloon?
So he goes in through the saloon doors. We see Texas Ranger, so it's got to be Ellie, right? Montgomery Enfield. He cocks his gun. On behalf of the state of Texas, the Texas Rangers, and the people of Ambrose County, I'm here to bring you to justice for the murder of poor old Bill Barley. Come quietly or don't. I don't much care. One way or the other, I am to see you and your posse dead before dawn. And that's it. That's it for this issue. There's going to be more issues. Perfect setup, I think. I took the time to read this here, the Enfield Gang Massacre, which apparently is an excerpt from an actual like old magazine in Texas, which explains how Texans actually care, like they actually their history is big to them.
Well, yeah, the old Wild West,
Yeah, and
Texas was huge. Yeah,
this talks about So I'll just read like the last paragraph here. It says, but unknown until recently, in fact, my research for this article unearthed it was Mowbray's insidious desire to wipe Chihuahua off the face of the earth. Chihuahua is a region of land that's just right south of Texas. It's in Mexico. It was a bunch of lowlifes and, immigrants and just people, that the rich want to wipe away. wiped the face off the earth entirely that led directly to the ruthless death and destruction that became known far and wide as the Enfield Gang Massacre. The event Texas history students are taught as a day of justice, but there was no justice to be had that day in 1875. It was quite the opposite. In this author's opinion, the whole ordeal would be remembered instead as the John Mowbray Massacre. And so Mowbray is one of those characters in the story. And then this here is Chris Condon um, writing in where the letters page would be, and he's just talking and thanking people.
And
And
here's my prediction: the corpse that we saw in the very beginning isn't Enfield.
if this were fiction, I might be more inclined to go with you, but we know
We don't
in
know yet. I don't. Yeah.
but since this is based on actual history and Enfield was a real guy and they massacred his gang and there was only one survivor, I'm pretty sure they're spoiling the story. Like Enfield's gonna die. Like I don't think that's. I think the point of the story
Sure,
isn't
but I mean,
whether Enfield survives or not. The point of the story is to be like at it as it seems, right? Like Enfield wasn't necessarily the bad. Like who's really the bad guy here? Who should have died? I'm finding this fascinating. I'm just enjoying the ride.
it's always fun when a kid gets killed. Revenge. Like I said, like it's another Wild West thing. I liked Pulp. I love they threw it in there. It's gonna be I think it's gonna be a little more action paced than Pulp was. But Pulp was also another thing. The dying Wild West. So the guy, I'm a gun shooter. I know all I know is the rob banks and stuff, and the guy is forced to become a writer. You see how his life just sucks now. He's older, can barely keep it. This is like these guys too. It's like the gunfighters. You died, or if you lived old enough, you you hated your life. You know, the glory days. That's the whole thing was going down in a blaze of glory. That was their life. If you're gonna die, die well. You know. It's one of the reasons I like Billy the Kid, the movie Young Guns. I know it's all fiction, but still, just the whole mentality of that too. You know, these guys were not nice people, but their mentality is like, I'm gonna die free. I'm gonna die doing what I want to do. And there's a little bit of freedom in that. So, can you guys hear Ashley Counts? I can't hear him.
Where's my sound?
There you are.
Am I back? There I am.
You're back now.
Yeah, I had a mic issue. Sorry about that.
That's okay. I was talking the whole time.
I know I heard you. Um, I really like this book, man. I was not sure what to think about it. I like that Texas Blood. Um, I'm not typically into like Texas. Thumb my nose up to it because it's Western. Who knows? I
No, I
really,
like.
really liked this.
Yeah, I said I like Young Guns. I like Tombstone. You know, this is right up there with the level of awesomeness so far.
I can feel like. Is it just? Tell me if you agree with this. I can feel like Chris Condon loves westerns. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, I feel there's like a passion to it.
Guns 2 wasn't as great, but Young Guns 2 had a kind of it was basically, the insert foot into mouth ending as far as, these guys, if they're gonna die, they're not gonna die well. They're not gonna grow old. And most of them don't even want to grow old and die. They want if they're gonna die, they're gonna go die fighting. You know? That's just the way they were. It's like you're not supposed to like, Billy the Kid or Jesse James, outlaw Jesse James. You're not supposed to like these guys. These guys are ruthless, sons of bitches. But it's something, it's something about it. There is just, I guess, not a glamorize, but it's the reason why I fell in love with American Vampire. American Vampire, the main character in there, Sweet. is a ruthless killer who becomes a vampire and then just slaughters and just has his way in no time, and it deals with the people around him. But like I said, you just I just love westerns, and when you do it right, I have fun with it, you know.
Yeah, me too. This is a Western done right. Um, if you can make a Western comic book this appealing to me, like you're already like pushing through barriers. I'm not predisposed to want to read Western comics, so I I really like this. Like I'm hesitant though. Like we'll get to the ratings here. I there's like part of me that's just like fanboy geeking out over this, wanting to give it a 5, but I'm like, I gotta rein this in. It's like 4, but it's close. Like I'm really liking this book. What are you gonna give it?
I want to say when I first you said this, like, oh, okay, I'll read a good shot, and I read it, and I was like, this is actually a lot better than I thought it was gonna be. I thought it was gonna be like about a 3, you know.
Mm-hmm.
It's still after all this, I'm gonna give it a 4
Nice.
because, like I said, it's not at the level of a 5, but it has the potential to become a 5.
Right.
Um, you know, you got in first, but I'll be the first one to draw blood, though. You know, he's just kind of cocky, and I'm hoping that with it's gonna come down. Like right now, this would be like if this was anybody else, be like, okay, no, the main character is gonna die now, but the main character could be a better shot, better, and I want these two to become like bitter enemies. Like, I want to become like the Pinkertons, and to Tombstone. I want the whole characters like that's fun for me. And and you see the guy on the left smiling, like he just wants to kill anybody. He don't give a shit about. So I'm like,
Yeah.
why is he smiling? You know.
Yep.
The other one's kind of just standing there. He got the right kind of seems like he's like more of a soft spoken guy. He's not really there to kill anybody, but he's kind of there because he's probably kind of reluctant. And the sheriff, the ranger there, he's got a sense of high morality because a boy was murdered, and he's like, you don't kill. As he draws a line, you don't kill kids, you know,
Yep.
And then he sees how horrific the slaughter Bailey was, hanging up there with his guts poured out. That really sets him off. And now he is like, at this point he doesn't care if he's 100% convinced that Ensign Enfield killed him. you know. So he's more likely he's like he said, I'm going to shoot you. I don't care whether you resist or not. I just want to shoot and kill you. He's already judged him. It's like, dude, you're gonna uphold the law, and this is back when when the law was first being applied to these Wild Wests. It's it's and the whole at the end of this, it's like you got these guys who basically Enfield. He's like, well, we'll just be a gang, we'll just keep robbing, but things, this is the way I am. I'm a gunslinger, you know. I don't work a 9 to 5.
Yep.
These guys had fun. They're thrill seekers.
So
So I'm
interesting thing
curious.
here.
Yeah,
Go ahead.
yeah. Fine. I was just gonna say, I'm just curious to see where it's gonna go, what the end result's gonna be, and obviously we know he doesn't make it out alive. But I'm still hoping, though, like just because it's that we don't know the full truth here, that maybe maybe that is his body, but like maybe it's something to look like his body, like it's like he lived longer than he was supposed to, and like I don't, like I said, I just love that, and Enfield's got that coolness factor. He's got that Paul Newman cool and Luke
Yeah.
kind of vibe.
Yeah, he does definitely.
Yeah.
Um, so if you don't want to be spoiled like Vankman, don't
I'm always
read this
spoiled.
Enfield
I love
Gang
you.
Massacre article at the end, which I have 2 pages of the article here. Um, from the Texas Record, issue 86, July 1996. This is a real thing. So here they actually have a poster of the actual Doc Malady's Wild West show. So this did happen. This is actually not one of the disputed facts of the history. But if you do read this book, and I urge you to, really, even if like you're like me, it's like Western. This is a good, really good book. Um, I would encourage anyone that likes it, read this article in the back here. It is possibly going to spoil some things because it's based on history, so it's going to inform you about actual history. Um, but I think the story is being written from a stance of, well, we know this is history, and we know people know. Well, if you've studied the history, you know what prize is about,
Oh,
telling the story and dramatizing it.
that
Um,
sketching looks like Tom Welling. Where I stare at it, the eyes, the eyebrow, the
I
face.
guess I'm not as familiar with Tom Welling as you, but yeah,
Tom Welling, Smallville.
yeah, I know. I mean, I know who he is, but I'm not as um.
It's
So
just,
yeah, that's what the real um, like that would have been really good for this. Um,
well, that's
but
another thing. Red Dead Redemption, the first one,
yeah, it was
not the last one they did. Red Dead number 2, whatever. The first one was like this is the best. About former
yeah,
gang member going after his gang. And just having to deal with the corrupt government. Pinkerman got his wife and child. Man, more like I'm judge, jury, executioner, kind of ranger going after the guy. And then like he doesn't care if the guy's in it. That he's almost like a J. Jonah Jameson. Spider-Man's a villain, no matter what.
right.
It's like,
So
I go,
that
oh,
wraps it
I
up
love that.
for tonight. I think we're supposed to do the Coke at the beginning.
Oh, I'm not doing coke at the beginning. I do it at the end.
Oh, okay. Let's wrap this up though, because I know I've been having internet issues tonight. I'm gonna try to get that looked at so it's not a thing that continues on in the future. I'm sorry of any inconvenience or annoyances that's had for anyone that's been listening. Do you have any final thoughts or anything that's on your mind to talk about or
Final
whatever?
thoughts on this, man. Final things for this. I said, if you like vampires and you like westerns, check out American Vampire. It's another book that goes through the decades because of the Vampire Universe Eternal. Works their way up from the 1700s, going all the way up to like 1960, 1975. Very fun book. Um, check out Pulp. It's another fun book like this, another western.
Pulp is really good.
Yeah, yeah,
Only
and
parts of it take place in the West, though. It mostly
yeah.
takes place in the early 1900s, but but the character in it is an old cowboy, and so it flashes back to his past.
Yeah,
Um,
those are my recommendations for westerns. I
Pulp
can't
is
think of any other ones.
real. Pulp is really good. It will not be what you expect. I thought it was going to be a western because you look at the cover and it totally looks like it's got a cowboy, but it takes place mostly in the
Hmm.
early 1900s.
Oh, and
It
also check out the old Jonah Hex books for DC.
Pulp's actually about a comic book writer. That's kind of why it's called Pulp, right?
Hmm.
Um, yeah, Jonah Hex, DC, okay,
Yeah,
and also that
good.
Texas Blood. Anyways,
Yeah.
this this is a good book. Breen is probably not listening. It's way late. It's past his bedtime, but he recommended it, and he was spot on. So I got nothing as far as other things that recommend talk about. Avoid Secret Invasion unless you absolutely have to see it. It's trash. See the Mission Impossible 7. It's much better than I expected it was going to be.
And also check out
And
Last Voyage of the Meter.
Last Voyage of the Demeter if you like horror stuff. And
Oh, one other book that caught me off guard. I haven't is that Godzilla over at I believe it's IDW. That's a new one, and it's basically Pirates of the Caribbean mixed with Godzilla and Skull Island and all that stuff. So check
and
out that. That's been a fun
there's
book.
only one way to make Godzilla better, and that's with pirates.
Dude, kaiju's and yeah, Sir Francis Drake,
Nice.
and like a basically a Johnny Depp version like of his character. Like it's not Johnny Depp's character, but it's pretty much Jack Sparrow being hung up. He's getting ready to be hung on the gallows, and he's telling the story about how Queen Elizabeth had chartered basically Sir Francis Drake to go to the Skull Island. You know, they bring back these all the gold for her. I mean, and how this guy, the pirate, he knows about this because he was the first mate on the boat, and they're being chased by the Spanish Armada, only to come across Godzilla, who destroys the Spanish Armada. It's intense. Yeah.
As an old school Godzilla fan, I won't say what's
Good night, kids, and enjoy your reads. Read good books, so we'll find you. Love reads from that cider. Good night, kids.